I love Hong Kong and mainland China. I love Romcoms. Already Tomorrow in Hong Kong and Shanghai Calling sport similar conceits, although executed quite differently. Both of these imperfect films have demanded repeat viewings. In both cases, you have a fish out of water Asian American falling for a fish in the water white person who makes their local cities much more exciting and accessible. Hong Kong in the first one, Shanghai in the other. I've probably already turned off any Asian American viewers with the white savior trope, but I'd say both movies offer much more than that. Caveat, neither of these are top-shelf rom-coms. They won't go toe-to-toe with When Harry Met Sally or It Happened One Night or Pretty in Pink or The Shop Around the Corner, but they might just wrestle down Sleepless in Seattle or Serendipity, and what they offered me, with a covering of charm and nice performances, was a bedrock of really just loving their settings. Already Tomorrow in Hong Kong is a two-part film following two accidental dates between an Asian-American toy designer, played by the stunningly pretty Jamie Chung, and a very Jim from the Office banker, played by Brian Greenberg. If you've been to Central in Hong Kong, you've seen a million of these guys, usually British expats, sharply dressed, career-focused, down for fun. The two wander across Hong Kong Island to get her to an event, and probably never hook up like Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy in Before Sunrise. Part 2 shows them reuniting by accident. He has ditched his corporate career and, thanks to her inspiration, is pursuing his dreams as a writer. He's also far more in touch with the Cantonese culture than she is and forces her to confront it. Shanghai Calling might sound like the same movie all over again with a gender swap, but it's actually a totally different animal. A flashy Asian-American lawyer is flown out to Shanghai to take down a copycat company that's hurting sales of a new tactile cell phone. As he struggles through Shanghai's business and expat cultures, he slowly falls for this American blonde who knows the local territory and guides him as well as she can towards ethical and local business practices. It's a goofier film than Already Tomorrow, but more concretely plotted and minus Already's art house aspirations. What I love about both these movies, besides my sappy weakness for rom-coms, is the geography. Already Tomorrow in Hong Kong follows a strict regime of exactly where these characters would be on their pedestrian journey across Hong Kong Island and later Tsim Sha Tsui, journeys my wife and I have maybe taken 100 times, always in search of some new little cafe or record shop. Note, the characters complain about the Mexican food in Hong Kong, but when you live in the mainland, those burritos are worth every penny of a $20 bill. My obsession with city-based movies probably started with Ferris Bueller, and then continued on to The Big Sleep, filmed on sets, I know, and later When Harry Met Sally. All of these films romanticize their geography. There's no way you could map out Ferris Bueller's Day Off with any sort of rational sense. But also there's no way he could commandeer a parade float and broadcast Twist and Shout or Donkeyshane during a city event. Fantasies have their privileges. When a geographically accurate love story in a city I associate with my own love story gets made, betcha bottom dollar I'm gonna fall for that. And if there's one thing about Already Tomorrow in Hong Kong, it's the movie's ruthless accuracy. A lot of references are painfully dated already, owning Seinfeld on DVD, shopping for selfie sticks, but Hong Kong itself is always immediately dated because everything changes just so fast. Restaurant fads come and go so fast you have to sprint to enjoy them. Fashion is always 2 years ahead of what you can afford. What stays the same, or did until recently, is the culture. Cantonese people are stubborn. Some restaurants are going to last for 100 years because the grandchildren of the first patrons are still dragging their own grandchildren there for coffee with sweetened condensed milk in it, or freakishly delicious seafood. And while a lot of the conversation in this movie is stagey and a bit on the nose, it's all still true. With Shanghai Calling, it's far more cultural than geographical. A naive Chinese American is asked by a shady businessman, played by the Ferris Bueller's Day Off's Cameron Fry, Alan Ruck, to track down a reclusive inventor who may not be adhering to Western copyright laws. Okay, that's enough of the plot. The plot in this movie exists to move our hero from one encounter to another, and that's not the part that makes this movie worth watching. What might make it worth watching is Awesome Wang. There's a lot of intercultural hijinks as the handsome, clueless lead bumbles around in Chinese business, real estate, and relationships. As in Already Tomorrow, the lead gets along largely by being really hot, while their long-suffering white counterpart, who knows the territory better, has to prove themselves by being infinitely patient. I can't speak to the accuracy here as I will for Already Tomorrow in Hong Kong. I kinda know Shanghai as a tourist, but the Shanghai music scene I definitely know. Nowhere in China is the scene so clued into self-promotion as Shanghai, and this movie shows that off. A rooftop party features Long Dao, who made the best reggae, new wave, ska, ragamuffin, and rock-infused album in Chinese history. I actually hung out with those guys once, although I'm 100% sure they would not remember that. There are little things that do bug me, like an expat referring to baozi as steamed buns. Nobody says steamed buns, except for maybe a Chinese person trying to explain baozi to a foreigner. This is a broad comedy, and some liberties are taken. Overall, though, it's pretty charming, and I really like the cast. The problem with rom-coms is the soon-to-be ex of one or both of the leads. In a rom-com, they never get a fair shake. Because of plot, the soon-to-be ex has to be a serious loser, or else the movie just betrays them. The worst offender of the latter is Sleepless in Seattle, where Bill Pullman seems like a genuinely nice dude, but Meg Ryan has fallen in love with some Tom Hanks off the radio and dumps him. More typical is the straight-up jerk, like Glenn Guglia in The Wedding Singer, or Pat Healy in Something About Mary. This film keeps the exes off-screen, which feels like a bit of a cheat. Chung and Greenberg have loads of chemistry, which is good since they're actually married in real life, but we don't entirely have a reason to root for them over their off-screen steadies, and the movie, well, ends on a cliffhanger. The leads are clearly in love and have never acted on it. They reach the crisis moment and the movie cuts to black. Normally, I like this sort of Lady or the Tiger open-ended conclusion, but in a rom-com, the conclusion is usually where it soars. A decision has to be made, and many great speeches have caused over the years one of the lovers to reverse their decisions. Working out their differences isn't just the bulk of a rom-com's content, it's the crowning moment that makes you remember the movie.
I hate the way you're always right. I hate it when you lie. I hate it when you make me laugh. Even worse when you make me cry. I'm not gonna marry Richard.
Tell him don't leave. She's not gonna marry Richard.
Don't leave. I'm not gonna marry Richard.
Why not?
I don't know.
Tell him I love him.
I love you.
I came here tonight because when you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible.
If Already Tomorrow in Hong Kong has a real flaw, it's a winking avoidance of this satisfaction. Heck, Even Before Sunrise leaves you with Ethan Hawke standing alone and confused on a platform. You know what has happened, but it's going to take another movie to tell us why. As I mentioned before, Shanghai Calling is plotted with a dogged adherence to Hollywood rules. Already Tomorrow in Hong Kong wanders a bit more, but that wandering gives it authenticity. But when feeling nostalgic for expat life in China, both of these movies satisfy. Or for just a fluffy romance with a heavy dose of local color. Already Tomorrow in Hong Kong and Shanghai Calling, check them out if you're into those kind of things.